And this is my review for Transformers Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Class Jazz. Jazz, as you can see, is a little Cybertronian racer car. I don't know if he actually looks like this in the game. I'm assuming he is, but I've never played the game, so I can't attest as to how game accurate it is. I do kind of wish that they had used, at least to some extent, I realize that they had to update it for the game model, but I wish that they had to some extent used his old G1 cartoon model. He was very, very briefly seen in the original G1 cartoon in the very first episode in vehicle mode. He looked a lot more like the freight-carrying car that Wheeljack turned into. It was a little bit more slick, but not by much. But I like the car. I think it is a really nice little update, but I do wish that they had incorporated some more G1 elements into it, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, not a whole lot to say about it. Very, very cool looking car. I really do like the shades of blue that they used on it. It's a very nice metallic blue paint, which is really nice. I do also really like the silver that they used on these pieces, and on these pipes up here. Especially considering a lot of these Generations figures haven't been getting a whole lot of paint apps, and the ones that they have been really bad, but this guy actually came out with some really good ones. I should point out that the red on the wheels, it is there, definitely is there and noticeable. It's actually not nearly as dark as the camera's making it out to be. It's much more of a, standard red paint rather than the ruby red that it's making it out to be on camera. The United version, I think, does actually have ruby red paint, but I'm not sure on that. Not a whole lot to say about it. Doesn't have a whole lot in terms of features. It does roll fairly well, which is nice. He also does have a gun that you can mount up on the hood. There's also 2 ports on either side of the car that you can insert it into. Unfortunately, the handle's a little bit too long for the hole, so you can't push it in all the way. But, oh well, what are you going to do? I personally don't like the look of it hanging from the side. I much prefer the look of it up on top of the car, but it's all personal preference. Like I said, you can't also just leave it without it, but I personally think it looks a little naked without it, so I usually just put it up on there. I think it looks, because I think it looks better. But, again, all up to personal preference. Anyway, transformation's fairly simple. First off, you want to take off the gun. Then what you want to do is you want to go back here, you want to untab his arms from the back of the race car, like so. Then you want to rotate these pieces around, and then there's this, this is kind of a weird part. I don't really know why they engineered it this way. I think that they could have done it a little better. But what you want to do, there's a little tab right here, and you want to wiggle that loose of that piece. And I do fear that those are going to break off at one point. Luckily, you don't have to apply a whole lot of force, but it does kind of worry me that they're going to break off. They do seem like fairly fragile tabs, but we'll see. Just something to be a little bit careful of. Then what you want to do is you want to rotate this piece. This piece is kind of weird. I don't know why they engineered it this way either. You want to rotate it around, and then you want to... actually, you don't want to rotate it around. You want to kind of rotate it forward and then rotate it around. You can kind of see that. Like I said, it's a really weird way to do that arm. I don't really know why they did it that way, but oh well, what are you going to do? Anyway, do the same on this side. Untab that piece. Like so. Like I said, it can be a little bit awkward to do just because it is such a weird way of doing it. And then you want to take it, and they can pop off when you try to do it. They do fit in fairly securely. And then with his arms, what you want to do is you want to rotate them around. And there's a tab right here, and there's a slot carved into the door. You want to rotate that around. And then rotate that around. They don't lock in place, but they do lock in there fairly securely, so you don't have a whole lot to worry about. I do wish that they had found a way to actually get these latches, or get some latches onto these so they stayed really securely, but oh, what are you going to do? Anyway, rotate his arms around, rotate the fist around, do the same on this side, rotate that around, rotate that around. Then with the hood piece, what you want to do is you want to take it, you want to rotate the legs down, and it helps to do that first. And then you want to kind of push in the top of the hood, like so. And then with his back, there's really no clear way on how to do this, so you kind of just got to figure it out for yourself. What you want to do is you want to start rotating this piece back, and then push the hood piece forward. There's these slots that are carved into this piece that'll lock into some of these pieces right here. It's really difficult to show, but when you rotate it back, it will lock into place if you get it right. Yeah, like so. That'll lock the whole chest into place. And then what you want to do is you want to rotate his feet up. I mean, his feet are ratcheted, as you can hear and see, which is nice. I do like that they added that feature. And there you have Jazz in robot mode. I'll go ahead and give him his pistol. And really, really cool looking. I do really like the look of him. I do have a couple of aesthetic complaints. They're all related to the chest. I really do wish that they had found a way to maybe make this chest a little bit more angular. To me, it looks like a robot with the hood of the car resting on its chest rather than an actual robot mode chest. And I realize that that might be more accurate to the game, but if that's the case, I really wish they had changed the design to be a little bit more angular, because like I said, to me it just looks like a chest on a robot. I also don't really like that no matter what you do, there's always going to be this gap between his head and his chest. From certain angles it doesn't look so bad, but looking at it straight on, you can notice that his head clearly is not attached to his chest. That's not showing up too well on camera, but when you look down into his chest, you definitely can see that he doesn't have a full-length piece on that chest. I wish that they had found a way to maybe make a piece flip out or something, or at least make this chest push up a little further. In the package, he actually doesn't have his back fully transformed, so he looks a lot worse in package than he does in person. You can get that head to rest a little bit more level with his chest, but there's always going to be a gap there, and I don't know why they designed it that way. But that's pretty much my only other major aesthetic complaint. I do really like the head sculpt. It's a very cool Jazz head sculpt. I love the silver paint that they use. It's not the same bright silver that they use, dull silver, I mean, that they used on these pipes in vehicle mode. It is a very nice, bright, vibrant silver, which I think is cool. He does have really nice light piping, too. If I can get my light to work. There we go. You can see he does have some pretty nice light piping, which is cool. It is a little bit dark for my taste. I wish that they had made it a little lighter, but, oh, what are you going to do? He is fairly posable. His head is on a ball joint. Due to the sculpt, it's a little bit limited in what you can do with it. He is always going to be looking at an angle when you turn his head left and right, which is a bit of a shame, but what are you going to do? It also goes up and down a little bit. He does have ball-jointed shoulders. They're a little bit limited just due to the way that they're designed, but not too terribly badly. He also does have a hinge right here that allows you to bend the arm out like this. It does look a little bit awkward, but, oh well, what are you going to do? You can use it if you want to. He does have a bicep swivel, which is nice. He does have ratcheted elbows, which I don't think we've ever seen on a Transformer, at least not as long as I've been collecting Transformers. But I do think that's neat that they actually gave him a ratcheted elbow. He does have ball-jointed wrists, but due to the way that his arms and his hands are sculpted, they're really not that useful. They're more for just folding up his wrists in robot and vehicle mode. So there's really not a whole lot that you can do with him. He does have ball-jointed hips, which is nice. They go back and forth. They go in and out. He does have a little bit of a thigh swivel. There's not a whole lot you can do with it, but he does have a thigh swivel. He does have ratcheted knees, which is nice. And then does he rotate at the knee? Yeah, he does rotate at the knee. It's a little bit squared off. There's not a whole lot of in-between motion that you can get that, I guess. But there's not a whole lot of in-between motion just because it is on a squared-off ratchet, which is a bit of a shame, but no, what are you going to do? And like I said, he does have ratcheted feet. His feet are, unfortunately, sculpted totally flat, so you can't really get him in a whole lot of dynamic poses involving his feet, but no, what are you going to do? Still a fairly posable figure. You can get some pretty decent poses out of him. For some size comparisons, first off, for a standard size comparison, here he is next to Revenge of the Fallen Bumblebee. And people are making a big deal out of the fact that, yes, he is smaller. The camera's actually making it out to be a little bit worse than it really is. He's actually a little bit taller than he looks next to Bumblebee. He comes up to, at the top of his head, he's about right at the top of Bumblebee's chest, so he is a little bit taller than the camera's making him look out to be. But, you know, on the figures that are small, that are proportioned to be bigger, that are smaller, like Shockwave and Optimus Prime, it doesn't really look that great. But I do think on the figures that are supposed to be proportioned smaller in the first place, like Jazz, I don't think it looks too bad. And also here he is next to, War for Cybertron Optimus, which is pretty perfect scale, from what I do remember from seeing the trailers for the game. They were about that height. In the game. And I know a lot of people are complaining he isn't accurate in scale because Bumblebee's taller than him. Well, to that I say that Bumblebee was always out of scale in the first place, so I don't really think that that's that great a comparison. Plus, like I said, you can, like I've shown in previous videos, you can actually shorten Bumblebee to about his size. He's a little bit taller than Bumblebee, but not by much when Bumblebee's in his shortened state. But, oh, what are you going to do? And also, just for fun, here he is next to Reveal the Shield Jazz. You can see Reveal the Shield Jazz is a lot taller than him, but that's just because Reveal the Shield Jazz is a lot taller of a figure. But pretty cool. I do like the Jazz then and Jazz now, as he was in the cartoon. Obviously, he didn't look like this on Fall of Cybertron, but whatever. Anyway, still a very cool little figure. I definitely recommend him. I don't think that he's really worth 15 bucks. I think that he's probably worth a little bit less. If you can get him for less, get him for less. I think that $15 is a little bit much, but again, that's pretty much the standard price. So if you really want this guy, go get him. If you can find him for less, definitely get him. Very, very cool little figure. Definitely recommended. So there you go, my look at Transformers Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Class Jazz. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.